for Let Me, in case the bottom lane party breaks out, as we have seen several times this tournament, especially with players like Uzi and Prey, who you want to enable. There's no fight yet.
Yeah, and remember, the cleanse is good against all these follow-up CCs. Won't be useful against the suppression, but Morgana bindings, the taunts from the Galio, and the rest of the stuns coming in, even from Skarner himself, allowing them to not chain those CCs together and go for the 100%.
And we're just seeing a lot more control from Kingstone's bot lane with the Varus pick here. So good start from them. Tahm Kench as well is probably the best champion for Gorilla because he's so creative with his ultis once we get out of this laning phase. And that's going to be very, very important when you consider the fact that BDD is going to be sitting in that side lane without TP. If a Tahm Kench shows up, that's a three-man party for Kingstone.
Yeah, probably the next thing I'm looking for is what Kingzone are going to do when the first Galio ultimate actually is used. Because that, RNG have the options to go very aggressive. Ornn ultimate, Skarner, and Galio is a very, very good proactive engage combo. Yet Kingzone, as you mentioned, they have the Tahm Kench, and they're the ones that are going to try and work around that big opening.
You can already feel this game is slightly less tension than game number one, with that Fiore in the top lane, as well as the Irelia mid. But it has similar tendencies, this fairly slow-ish laning phase, going relatively even. It was when Kingzone in game one started to set up the 1-3-1 that they got punished. And Kobe, after you just talked about that proactive engage tools from RNG, it was being proactive in game one that allowed RNG to punish, get the lead, and then close out the game.
Yeah, now it will be a little bit harder because Kasa, of course, had the flash used down in the bottom lane and didn't actually secure anything with it. Look at this poke here from Prey, really utilizing Varus, very strong laning phase. And all of Kingstone are looking around the bottom turret here. Big, big change from the last game.
This is, of course, the opposite of what we were talking about in terms of how these two teams have played around their ADCs. Four-man stack in the bottom lane for now. This is a teleport coming out from RNG. There are, in fact, 3 teleports being channeled towards the bottom. We'll make that 2, as it was Uzi TPing to the lane. Of course, the support from Xiaohu to save the tower.
Yeah, I like how Xiaohu on the Galio takes the more aggressive teleport location right at the turret with 3 members around. And Uzi a little bit farther down the lane onto the minion so he doesn't get jumped on immediately.
And Kingstone, they want to keep doing this, keep pushing in the bottom lane. It's important that BDD moves because otherwise he can't match the ulti from Xiaohu. That's why he's always coming down so early so they can get down the turret, because the faster they get a Rage Blade for Prey, the more effective they can use this Varus to move him from turret to turret. Xiaohu might get ganked in the mid lane. Peanut's on his way.
Well, let's see what can happen. Support coming in from Gorilla as well. Xiaohu takes nearly no damage thanks to that W. A very nice suppress of the Gorilla. Very helpful by some time. The kill is secured by Castle.
Xiaohu is able to get off his damage reduction there, under turret as well, after shock proccing. He barely takes any damage, and Karsa's there for the punish for RNG. Now that allows him to take control of your favorite dragon, Trevor.
It is my favorite indeed. It just gives a little bit more credence to the team fighting and the scaling, and it'll be not contested at all by Kingzone. So RNG once again get first dragon in the finals.
Yeah, such a big deal because it was Kingstone with the control. Still no flash on Caster's side. They were pushing in bot lane with Prey, but they went all in for this Galio and they just didn't have the damage in time. And suddenly, backup is there.
Yeah, taunt and the after
Trying again
from Xiaohu definitely allows him to survive. Remember, he didn't have to blow his flash though because of that damage reduction and how tanky he was and how close he was to the turret. So even if they make another pass at mid, he does have that summoner to rely upon. Here's another look at it. Boom. As soon as he sees the ultimate coming out from Peanut, channels it, and he's able to survive very easily. There's the 3rd teleport that this team had. They had kept Let Me's in the bag just for this occasion, and Karsa was in the area, so easily able to punish with another one of the ultimates.
Let Me with another assist. He manages to maintain his 100% kill participation. Available for both of them, gentlemen, in case you were doubting that. And first item spike's now starting to come in. Rage Blade is secured by Prey. He's got that teleport available to him, jumps back into lane, and will get a lot of damage on this tower.
Yeah, they got pushed mid lane so BDD can move down. They have the TP back from Prey so they can actually start hitting the turret. It's a big moment for Kingstone to get even more pressure. And can they get that first turret? They're really stopping Uzi from getting ahead compared to the last one. Peanut is on his way down. Karsa's here as well. Flash ult is available.
Not going to use it yet. All right, the True Shot Barrage saving some time. Look at Peanut, look at the movements here from BDD. This is a pressure play for the tower. And Caster's now found Peanut. BDD throws the stun over the wall. This will delay Caster getting in range. Look at the tower damage, down to 10%. Essence Flux will find a target, but there's no follow-up yet. Kingzone don't want to tower dive.
Yeah, and BDD walks halfway down here on the Galio, so they don't actually get a mid-wave push either during that roam from BDD. Or Xiao who walked down, so they didn't get the push from BDD, and Kingzone aren't really punished yet. They got, what, 5 more autos off on that turret, so very valuable.
They'll keep doing it until they actually get punished by RNG. Eventually, Kingzone will just get the turret unless a big fight breaks out first, which is why Kaza is still around. Let Miss TP is on cooldown from that last mid lane fight. Khans will be ready before that, and both teams are looking towards the spot lane turret.
Let's see what they can do as it stands. RNG fending off the pressure, dealing with this Rage Blade Varus user as best they can. CS numbers are as even as they are going to be, and BDD's getting close to Trinity Force, has just picked it up in fact. So it's another one of those spikes, another one of those boosts that gives Kingzone more confidence and capabilities when they pressure.
It adds a tremendous amount of damage here to the combinations that Aurelia can pull off on the bottom side. And with Uzi and Ming constantly under pressure down here, Kingzone will probably keep up the similar strategy.
Uzi's trying to get the push for himself. We still have not seen the big aggressive ulti from Xiaohu, but he's most likely just waiting for a Kingzone tower dive against his own bottom lane, and then using it down to stop it from happening. You know, Uzi's mid-game is going to be great, and RNG's teamfighting comp is fantastic, just like last game.
Well, let's talk about RNG a little bit more. Game 1, I was excited about how they managed the 1-3-1 threat, how they, you know, dealt with it. They found an opportunity to engage and punish Kingzone. Maybe Kingzone making some mistakes. What does it make you think when you think about RNG? When we've looked at how they won their semifinal, they fell behind and they won through late game team fighting, etc.
Makes me think you don't get to make that many mistakes, Trevor, before you don't have enough map to work with. Last game it was critical. Peanut went for that invade, he died all by himself, and that was a snowball that started to let RNG gain map control against the team that is supposed to play off of map.
Yeah, it showed us and it showed Kingzone that if you give a bunch of engaged champions to RNG and you try and split the map, they will attack you and they will fight you. So that's why we have the tank instead for Khan. That's why they have more teamfight focus. On Kingzone's side, they're still trying for this bot lane turret.
Back to the bottom.
I think they're going to secure this one. There's not enough members of RNG around. Dark Binding will connect onto Prey. He's instantly devoured. I love the animation actually hovering with him. But Tower First Blood picked up by the Korean representative. 700 gold up. And of course, 1 tower. And this might unlock some movement. Maybe Prey can be pushed into a different lane and try to accelerate this map play for Kingzone.
Yeah, you always want to keep using Varus, just move him around the lane, because if someone shows up to defend on their own, Varus can just ult them instantly and you can create very easy picks. So the fact that Prey have gotten the first turret is important for Kingzone, but it's not game-changing yet. RNG are even in gold.
Yeah, they're even in gold, and Uzi is getting very close to his Trinity Force on Ezreal. Once you get that, once you get the Muramana transformation, then RNG get to bring him to the fights rather than having him be struggling down here in the bottom side, constantly under threat of this Rageblade Varus.
Yeah, Rageblade Varus can do very well in those extended trades if he's allowed to stand still and shoot. Uzi's going to try his best not to let that happen. Uzi's going to try land those Mystic Shots, push him away, get some chip damage before any of those long-standing tank fights can even matter.
That's actually one of the very interesting things about Varus and the amount of damage he can deal, as you highlighted there, especially against tanks. We saw Prey doing Worlds have one of the records for most damage dealt or damage per minute. And that was on Varus. It was an Ardent Sensor meta, and he was hitting a Maokai for basically every single team fight. But you can't do that if you can actually stand still with the Rage Blade, and he's most likely going eye edge as well, so you get a crit towards the late game. It's an expensive build, but of course you spike on one item.
Well, speaking of those builds, those AD carries in the bottom lane, the Dragon is about to come up in 2 seconds. And that might be the site that actually draws them back into another confrontation. Galio Ultimate is ready. Teleport from Let Me is also ready. And these are going to be level 2 ultimates that they bring to the fight this time.
Yeah, and crucially, no Trinity Force yet for Uzi. He's decided to upgrade the Ninja Tabby. and RNG start Dragon when they see the recalls. They are punishing this timing from Kingzone.
Yeah, exactly. They see that, but there is TP and Tom Kench ulti available in case Kingzone wants to rush down and fight. Kasa is dropping very low.
Vision control and a Skarner Spire allow him to burn it down quickly, but Peanut's here!
Not gonna win the smite fight. Kasa takes it down for now and will be forced to flash over the wall before he escapes with his life, but the objective is secured.
Yeah, that was getting close though. Kingzone almost showed up in time. We have to constantly look at Gorilla and this Tom Kench and where he's going. He's so aggressive with the ultis. We saw one already. That kind of backfired. Hopefully we're gonna see more though, and these ones will not backfire.
Yeah, that was an abysmal voyage actually last time around for Gorilla towards the mid lane. Cost him his death that he's sporting there. He does now have a Quicksilver in addition to changing his cleanse to exhaust for the team fights though. He's been able to supplement his summoner spells with item build.
So he's going QSS. Prey's actually going for the AP build on Varus with Nash's Tooth coming in second. There is a lot of damage coming from it, but it's not the crit build that we otherwise see from Varus players.
We'll see how effective it is, because he needs a lot of time. You need to get multiple stacks. You need to get that W.
Gotta proc it.
You have to hit it. And that's what I want to see. Of course, against Ornn, Skarner, Galio, it does make sense. You just have to dodge everything that Uzi's doing, and that's important and difficult. When Uzi in the previous game, gentlemen, dealt 47% of his team's damage. That was a single damage or single carry threat with a lot of tanks to support it. That's what you'd expect in that type of comp.
Feels good to be mid-spiking AD carry with a bunch of tanks on your team. Here we go. Speaking of mid lane though, Kingzone, they move up, and merely by threatening on the mid lane, the Predator is popped and it times out.
Okay, gentlemen, I need you to put some prediction caps on. We have had 20 minutes of flirting with team fights. When will we get our first big team fight?
I mean, it could be so soon here. Both teams will not even go towards a Rift Hill because Baron is spawning soon. Instead, they're just constantly sieging against each other in the mid lane. Like, we're waiting for this one team to say, okay, now it's time. Let's just go for the engage.
If I was this team, I would say it's time when Ezreal completes his Trinity Force. As soon as Uzi is able to get that Trinity Force and get up those damage numbers you're talking about, Trevor, then we have the Ornn Horn. You just blow that sucker, get Skarner to run in, and Galio to jump down.
But then Prey is back. He gets his Nash's Tooth. He goes into the first team fight. He starts proccing some of those Blight stacks, and he's like, well, where's your tank? He died.
We're gonna find out who will win that theoretical fight, because the Muramana is about to be upgraded here for Uzi. He's very shortly gonna hit 750. Did that very minion wave. I think he's got enough gold to finish off that Trinity Force as well. And Baron has just spawned. So a number of pieces falling into place now for RNG.
Officio's got some big talk, but a good friend of mine, Captain Flowers, once told me, when Ornn blows the horn, you better run.
Could he find a rhyming word to finish that sentence off? We'll have to ask him to get us one for later.
All right, how about this? When...
No, you've lost it. You've lost
committed
it.
and you
Take
couldn't.
a look at this, by the way. Prey teleported back to the mid lane.
Oh, stop
Trying to fend from the siege. He has the Nash's Tooth completed. Uzi has a teleport of his own. We'll be picking up that Trinity Force. And as the arms race continues to scale, we are setting ourselves up for some gigantic mid-game team fights.
When you hear the horn, you run from Ornn. How about that one?
All right, give me a call when we see the team fight. I'm looking at the vision now, and there's not a lot of deep vision from either side. Thank you, observers, for floating over that, as Peanut needs to use that Arctic Assault just to get outside the pit. So get mid-control, take a tower down, push deep vision in, then set up for Baron. We're many, many steps away from that objective.
Yeah, this is gonna be fight each other first, and then you can get a Baron after, most likely. Kingzone should be the only one who can maybe rush down with the Cho'Gath. Another siege around the mid lane. Binding does hit first. Gorilla gets out of it with the QSS. That is now on cooldown in case Kasa looks for a fight, but his flash is also on cooldown. Both tanks push out, go to their mid lane. No one gets to start a fight
It's
yet.
unbelievable. Paris has been tearing the roof off Zenith with volume and noise all event long, and it is like a library in here while the fans and viewers are waiting for this inevitable team fight. Whether or not Kingzone is going to go toe-to-toe. Now, Xiaohu will be the recipient of yet another gank. He's going to flash over the Irelia ultimate. Tom Kench will be arriving with the Abyssal Voyage, and thanks to the use of that clock, the stopwatch, or the hourglass rather, has bought enough time. Xiaohu escapes with his life.
Yet again, they try and dive Xiaohu, but he stays alive. That was quite a bit used there from Kingzone What will a recourse here be from RNG? Trying to push mid lane in answer now, but they're gonna lose this top turret.
Yeah, I think RNG here will end up giving another structure, and we actually see a small fight here.
All right, some damage onto Gorilla. Now remember that QSS was used. He is just blown up with that Trinity Force. Prey escaping with his life, but the dog binding falls short. No true shot barrage to take him out. All right, RNG, they still need to take the tower out because Kingzone got top.
And the punish was in the mid lane there. Karsa's able to get the sting onto both of them, 2 for 1, because one's inside the belly of the frog. They get the kill for Uzi. Now they're pushing on the turret, and they're trying to get 2.
What an answer! Karsa sneaks into the enemy jungle and hides their surprise in Kingzone's bot lane. And because Gorilla wasted that QSS on a binding earlier, he ends up going down. 2 turrets in the mid lane, what actually looked like a fine play from Kingzone, just backfired.
As well as Prey's flash. So 2 for 1 tower trade. Despite the fact that gold is even, Kingzone are now in a defensive position in that mid lane. And they get punished once all the dominoes have fallen. And it was Kingzone that started that sequence of events by trying to dive top.
Now the reward would be another dragon though. 7 seconds, and Kingzone are doing the homework first. Scuttle Crab down, establishing vision.
Such a smart move from Karsa, knowing that this is the way back to defend the turret.
And he goes for the Tahm Kench, pulls them both in. I don't believe his gray health was even activated there. Uzi was able to burst him down first, and that's why it was so surprising and quick.
Cloud Drake did drop here. Kingzone managed to pick it up. We're setting up for another fight in this game. Prey no flash. So when that horn comes in, only Gorilla can save him. Otherwise, he will get collapsed on.
Okay, based on what we've seen from these 2 teams at the mid-season invitational, who is going to outperform in these late-game team fights? We are even in itemization, in gold. Towers are even, despite them being in different places on the map, and this is just going to come down to whoever can win that boxing match.
We often looked at this game and said Kingzone early to mid game, RNG late game. Based on the tournament, we've seen RNG perform better in 5-on-5 team fights. Kingzone has actually lost some of the games where they were looking to win and they were ahead, and then they got out team fought. Here's the TP coming in.
Wow, when you hear the horn, you better run from on. Kingzone are getting crushed. Uzi gets another. The Taunts picks up the kill. 2 more for RNG.
And it starts with losing the flash for Prey. Gorilla went down earlier. Prey walks into the river here, also walks into the jungle, and suddenly RNG just start a fight.
Exactly the fight we laid out for them, and they're gonna drive this one home. Inhibitor gonna be destroyed.
How much more can RNG take? They've already opened up the base at 25 minutes, and BDD's doing what he can to push in the top lane. Chips away 60–70% of that tower before he backs away, but the game is blown wide open by RNG.
Second game in a row here where Let Me gets his Ornn, and he's landing big ultis on it. It's such a power pick for RNG because they just want to keep forcing these long-range engages. Prey on the Varus. He got his bot lane turret down, but he's not that far ahead of Uzi. And you see here, without a flash, there is nothing he can do. He's stuck also in a very small corridor.
They're all sitting in the bush, and they have no idea they're sitting on a ward until the teleport starts channeling in front of their eyes. At that point, every man for himself. They scramble, but they can't get out.
And for the first time this game, a team has opened up a lead. RNG, 2,000 gold up. Supers in the mid lane. They have vision to set up if they want to go for this Baron. And importantly, 3 item spikes being picked up for the carries. You can see that Archangel Staff for Uzi working towards the Seraphs.
And that Ornn ulti is ready again. Prey's flash is not. RNG have a window now. If they're actually forcing anything, they can kill Prey again so easily. He's now falling behind in items compared to Uzi, despite Kingzone getting that first bot lane turret. So it is a huge moment again for RNG to be more aggressive. They're getting the Baron control. Let Me is pushed in on bottom side, but TP's there. If he goes for it, Prey dies.
Such a difficult situation to be in. Kingzone need to try and find a way to come back. A lot of games this tournament, once a team has got ahead, they've managed to close out. RNG the only ones that really have bucked that trend. And you could argue that's because Fnatic were so poor at closing games out, the weakest of teams, and when they got ahead, they couldn't close. And look at this, RNG the 4th tower of the game. Now they can set up a Baron. You can see all the pings on the mini-map. Very clearly the next objective.
Something else we have learned over this tournament is that Kingzone do not look good playing from behind. After that last team fight, it's gonna have to be a different story for them, because so far they have not been able to come back very well.
RNG have now taken control of the jungle. They're forcing all of Kingzone back to defend. Khan is here. Bot lane is slow pushing for RNG, but that's gonna take a while before it's gonna do anything. So it's all a play around this jungle and a fight for vision.
All right, my eyes are on Khan. Yesterday, the game-defining match against Flash Wolves. Khan found Flash Wolves AD carry Betty twice with a Flash Rupture Feast combo. Just sealed the deal and sent them to the finals. Now it'll be much more difficult against a Black Shield Ezreal. However, Khan is the man that is now being jumped on. Slightly defensive posture, RNG backing away inside the jungle. We have a 5-on-5. So are engaging. The Ornhorn comes down, 3-man knocker. Dash over the wall for BDD. He's looking for Uzi, but take a look at this. Galio's out of the pit. All of RNG running for their lives. That's a massive knocker. Khan gets the rupture. First victim of the fight is Xiaohu, and Kingzone are not done yet. They turn their attention back and they're looking for more.
Oh, let's see if Kingzone can get something else here. They're very low. Uzi's also almost dead if they can just get to him.
Oh, keep an eye on him. 400 hit points. BDD's looking for targets to Blade Surge. Not going to be able to find the stun though as Passes on the front line. The last remaining full HP tank. Khan gets the rupture onto Lemmy. There's in the back end. There's a 2-for-1. The Orn manages to pick up a kill before Khan shuts down Lemmy. Royal never give up. Have lost this fight. And Kingzone appealing for Baron.
Prey and the rest of Kingzone now turning towards the Baron. Warbox heals up Khan, and they've started it up.
Oh, let's see what the TPs here. Xiaohu, it's still on cooldown despite it being alive soon. It's only Ming here to try and defend. Can he snipe Gorilla?
Not going to find it with the Dark Binding missing. Black Shield will interrupt that tongue lash, but now Baron is going so slowly with only Khan and Prey. Xiaohu cannot join this fight. Death Fighters are too long. Baron secured by the LCK.
That was the most important fight of this game. Kingzone, they started in their own jungle, but there were so many members getting knocked up by the Ornn. The one important guy though who didn't get interrupted was Prey, who just sat there and auto-attacked over the wall.
Exactly. In the AD Carries tournament, Prey stands strong. They needed to look better when playing from behind, and they did just that in their jungle, in this team fight. They've made their adjustments in Champion Select, grabbing the Cho'Gath for that big rupture. Khan was able to utilize it very well and give Prey some space.
Okay, so the first engage here from the Ornn will hit everyone, also Prey, but right after that, Kasa walks in and doesn't actually get onto the Varus. Look at this engage here from Kingzone. It's just all the tanks in the front with BDD trying to deal damage. Massive Ornn ult from Letme. No one can interrupt it here. And now, it feels like RNG can win this fight, but they can't get back down to Prey. Kasa is not fully committing.
Also, I have to say, BDD on Aurelia. Immaculate use of the Blade Surge resets. He jumps over the wall, baits the Galio ultimate, and instantly Blade Surge is back over. That leaves 3 members of RNG on the wrong side. They can't contribute to the fight, allowing Kingzone to take over. That was just such a cool and intricate little exchange of events.
Yeah, and it leads to the Baron, it leads to the Dragon while we were in the replay. And Kingzone are now in control of the game. They've got their inhibitor back in the middle lane, and they will take their 3rd tower of the game as well.
Now it gets really hard for RNG to find a good flank. They'll have to just use the Ornn ult and a flash engage from Kasa to set something up here. Xiaohu's been unable to really use his ulti very effectively in this game because it's been so slow in the first 20 minutes. And then this big team fight we just saw here went in favor of Kingzone.
Yeah, it's so hard when you are the slow-moving Goliath that is Galio. You just use your ultimate, there's a huge channel time. Trying to chase it around an Aurelia is not going to be effective. They have to focus on Prey. But then you've got Gorilla and Devour to worry about, so it becomes difficult here for RNG. Meanwhile, Kingzone, after winning that fight, they take so much off of the field. Huge Baron power play.
Insane. And look at their win-loss from picking up the first Baron. 8-0 here at MSI. Still a minute to go. And of course, Kingzone, they were in a deficit before that fight broke out. You can see Prey just completes the rapid fire cannon as well, so he's going to be able to get some of those early shots down and play from behind. Kingzone aren't done yet.
Yeah, that's why that fight was so important. Had they lost, that would have been an RNG Baron and probably the game. 2-0 up suddenly. Kingzone can still try and win this game and make it 1-for-1, and then that sets up what could be one of the best of 5 finals we've ever seen. Two teams just fighting against each other left and right, and both teams able to win late game team fights.
Oh, I certainly hope so, Deficio. This meta and this tournament has been so exciting all the way through. Kingzone are on the verge of evening out the series in this best of 5. Now they've got to break open the base first. Baron will time out in 20 seconds, and despite BDD being rooted by the Dark Binding, RNG are doing a decent job at fending off. All right, gets caught in place. Chain of Corruption was spreading. Levy's taking a lot of damage. He's locked in, locked down, and taken out. Here comes the hero's entrance, but it will not save Kors's life. More victims will fall as Xiaohu is taken out by Gorilla. Kingzone, Ace, Royal never give up, and they take down the inhibitor, turning their sights to the Nexus.
Yeah, Kingzone, they're so strong here. Their front line just cannot die. They frustrated RNG, and meanwhile Prey just sits behind them and kills everyone.
Moments after winning the fight in their own jungle, down in gold, Kingzone are going to be able to take the Nexus from RNG.
Kingzone melt through Royal never give up, and even the series 1-1.
And this all started in the jungle with that huge 5-on-5 engage where all of RNG are stuck on the other side of a wall, and BDD dances around.
Big D Daddy able to pull off the big play when they needed it.
And manages to make it count. Every single one of our analysts said that this game was going to go the distance, was going to go to 5 games. And I'm not going to lie, there were moments around the 20 to 25 minute mark where I thought RNG had this. I thought they're just going to clean these team fights up, and Kingzone just shut me the hell up in their own jungle.
There's always room for outplay, and that's why people were so excited for this event. We've had Yasuo's being picked, now we've got Aurelia being picked. Champions with this mobility, with the options for outplay, make for exciting turnarounds like that.
I have a question for you. Do Aurelia and Ornn become problems or not? Do you think about it? Is BDD's Aurelia scary enough to ban? My instinct is yes.
Ooh, I don't know. I think you can leave both open. We just saw this game here, back and forth. RNG will look at that last fight in the jungle and say, oh, we could easily have won that. And then it would have been a completely different story.
GG Re again, blue side, red side. We'll find out later to hear more on how Kingzone tied up the series. They send it back to the State Farm analyst desk.
Thank you very much. Quick shot. You said you thought at 25 minutes that RNG had it. It was just a matter of the next team fight to close out the game. I'm sure 99% of the world's population thought the same thing. And then Kingzone strike back. They say they got something to say about making this a full 5-game series, even it up at 1-1.
I feel like there are two facets to this, although the game started very bloody very early on, and it was, again, another great level 1 play. And throughout this tournament, RNG have not moved or changed up their level 1 strategy. They always go for the fan, and they always get screwed over.
And Kingzone changed their plan when it came to the draft. They went for the Varus. They obviously were showing, like Fisher mentioned, they want to play bot side. Playing bot side started at level 1 as uzi just didn't respect the potential collapse.
And we thought maybe that the fact that they lost their summoners there as well as gave up first blood so Varus could build the boots and get lane priority might be enough to just swing the game in Kingzone's favor, thinking they're going to lose first turret. It's not going to be the same type of game, but that's actually not what decided it. It was surprising that RNG recovered and actually got in an advantageous position.
Right, let's take a look at how RNG gained some advantages through the mid game. It was all about intelligent play, knowing when to cede advantages and where they could take some of their own.
Yeah, probably the best plays that Xiaohu has made all series so far is that he's able to disengage from all of the pressure that Kingzone put into the top side. Meanwhile, RNG are prepping the mid-wave play.
And Xiaohu had just finished the Zonias here. The full disengage could happen. Karsa ahead of the play. This is why he plays over on next street, the pathing. They collapse around the mid lane. And they realize very quickly they can trade up because they got the kills and Kingzone did not.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that makes this series so interesting is RNG's ability to actually match Kingzone on the map. No other team was able to do this to the level that Kingzone...
All year.
Yeah, all year. And RNG did it right there. They got 2 turrets, they got multiple kills off that play, and they took what looked like a commanding lead in the game.
All right, but that brings us to the fight that strikes back for Kingzone in their own jungle. As Kobe said, there's always room for outplay, and that's exactly what they do.
And I know there's going to be 2 different lenses here, so I'm going to try to beat Papa Smithy to the punch. I feel like RNG, they go backstage, they look at this like, we misplayed this team fight horribly. We were stuck on this one side of the wall. Kars is basically non-existing here because he's confused. Do I commit? Do I not commit?
But at this exact moment, when the Ornn ultimate hits, 5, you think the game's over. GG, based on what you were thinking. But BDD going over the wall, drawing out the Galio ultimate coming in, wins the fight.
And imagine if that Galio ultimate was on Let Me in the middle of the team. That may be a completely different series, but what matters here is this is a series-saving fight for Kingzone. If they go down 2-0 in that fashion, do not get side select in the third game, have to go up against an Ezreal and tank composition again, it's trouble. But the fact that they clutched this out, and not just that initial fight, the extension of this fight to actually get Uzi was so crucial.
And I do want to make a special point to Khan's Cho'Gath. Yes, it was BDD's Aurelia going over the wall, but also the rupture into silence that Khan was able to chain and allowing him on this Cho'Gath to have this massive 5v5 advantage. They saw what RNG drafted in game number 1. Kingzone decided to go for tit for tat and match them.
International events are about moments. We don't know if that is the series-defining moment, but for BDD and Kingzone to clutch that fight, we were walking up here expecting to be talking about a 2-0 for RNG. The game changed on one big team fight.
We won't know now, but we may soon enough whether or not that was the fight that turned the tides of it all. I do want to push forward one more time to the final fight of the game. This one inside RNG's base.
And at this point, there's just so much momentum behind Kingzone. Again, Khan, he's able to, in tandem with Prey, try to lock up Uzi, force him to use his shift defensively, and then once they have the go button, BDD rockets forward.
Yeah, and I think the fact that Kingzone was able to apply so much threat to Uzi allowed Prey to free hit on that fairly unique-looking Ezreal build. He thought he was going to go full AP with an Asher's Tooth. He pulled in the Blade of the Ruined King. That was like the perfect combination to be a tank shredder. The AP ratios for the percent health on the passive, as well as just the percent health on the Blade of the Ruined King with attack speed. And the damage shows it at the end, nearly damaging the same as Uzi's Ezreal.
Yeah, as the first went on, we wondered where he would go. Even the Gunblade was a consideration, but went for the Blade of the Ruined King, all about the shred, the high attack speed. That means he needs to be free hitting. So the fact that the Galio taunt had to be used so early means that the threat onto him was actually relatively low.
And you talk about moments, Papa Smithy, I can see the exact moment there for Kingzone.
Man, 27 minutes in is when this series potentially changes. But you got to remember, we all thought it was going to be a 5-game series. I would have been pretty disappointed if Kingzone didn't show some signs of life. The whole tournament, they haven't been able to play well from a deficit. They finally did here.
Yeah, we asked which was more likely, a 3-0 for RNG, a 3-0 for Kingzone. I think it was starting to trend in the favor of an RNG 3-0, but as you mentioned, series-saving play there for Kingzone in that game 2. They're going to push us to a third game and at least a fourth, and that's where I want to start talking about what's the response here for RNG. I mean, if you're coming out of that game knowing that, hey, just maybe 1 or 2 mechanically different plays made in that team fight, we've got it, I almost feel like you don't do anything.
I've got 2 questions. Do we know side selection and do we know subs? Is this the time where you pull for MLXG?
RNG blue, no subs.
Okay, so sticking with Karsa and sticking with the Ezreal priority.
And knowing how confident RNG is as a team, that's not very surprising. This is a game in which they gave up first blood and all their summoner spells bottom lane in a lane that they thought they were going to take first turret in. We're still up 5,000 and think if they play that team fight better, they're in a commanding position to win the series. Actually, they're thinking they want Kingzone to change.
Right, I was going to say, so do we think RNG should be comfortable sticking to their guns with what they had here in game 2?
I think you change one gun. I think you ban the Aurelia. I think it's causing too much trouble. The Scion solo kill, eventually they got over the line. This time the Galio didn't really impress. I think an Aurelia ban is needed.
We say that, though, and which one do you drop, the Rakan, the Talia, or the Camille? Because Talia and Camille, to me, are unmovable from
I think
that
the
ban.
Rakan could be left open. I think it's a possibility to play with them if that was my choice.
I actually think there's more counterplay around the Aurelia rather than banning it. You can grab a Janna, you can grab a Tahm Kench, you can continue to stack tanks in the mid lane. Like, I understand BDD looks amazing on Aurelia, but I feel like if you ban it, you just get too rigid in your strategy.
So it's crazy to think then that the team that won the game, we might suggest needs to make more changes. If that's the case, I don't want to put words in your mouth, what should Kingzone do here back on red side to make sure that they don't fall into that hole, that they don't have to outplay to a ridiculous degree just to snag a victory?
I still like the Cho'Gath. I like that they're formatting themselves into 5v5 and saying we can't, split up the map away from RNG, so we might as well meet them head on. I still think that the Cho'Gath is the most important pick for that to work then, simply because we haven't seen Khan pull out the Ornn, I think, at all this tournament.
Yeah, no. Correct. 0 picks to the 9
one game
of Let
on
Me.
the year. He's played one single game on Ornn, even just in the LCK.
And Dash, these are 2 teams that are supremely confident. I mean, Kingzone, even though they did change their AD carry pick, didn't change their bans at all after getting shellacked in game 1.
Right.
So the fact that they won, and then the fact that RNG also had the lead, leaves it at a pretty high possibility for that old salty run back. We've seen it once in MSI history. Game 1 and Game 2 between SKT and CLG 2 years ago had exactly the same picks and bans. There's a chance that that happens here.
All right, well, Kingzone have shown they're not going down without a fight. Meet us here for Game 3 to see who can bring this series to match point. We'll see you here after the break.
Ming going to get caught up. That's a flash already from Ming. Uzi forced to throw his down. Winter Ball comes up. 3 flashes from Kingzone. They're looking for first blood, and it's found by Bray. Wow, when you hear the horn, you better run from on. Kingzone are getting crushed. Uzi gets another. Con gets the rupture onto Levy. There's in the back end. There's a 2-for-1. Beyond manages to pick up a kill before Con shuts down Levy. Levy's taking a lot of damage. He's locked in, locked down, and taken out. Here comes the hero's entrance, but it will not save Haas's life. More victims will fall as Xiaohu is taken out by Gorilla. Kingzone, Ace, Royal never give up, and they take down the inhibitor, turning their sights to the Nexus.
Predator, proud partner and official monitor provider.
Hello and welcome back to Game 3 of RNG taking on Kingzone. So getting some glimpses of Paris, France, just playing host to the MSI Finals. Gentlemen, we're about to jump into game number 3. Game 2 was incredibly close. It was so close that 90% of the 33 minutes was spent at an even gold state.
It was crazy, and it all led up to a massive team fight in the jungle, where suddenly we get big plays from BDD on Irelia, and Prey was left untouched on a Varus. RNG, they lose the fight, they lose the Baron, and Kingzone, when they get Barons, they win every game.
They do indeed. 9-0, I believe, with first Baron now.
Yeah, I'm glad that we saw this, from Kingzone, because it felt like a very similar game state at the very beginning to the previous game, but they had made those adjustments, and Khan on Cho'Gath is super viable as far as both a frontline and the execute damage that he's able to bring with his Feast.
And he might get to play it again. Same sides, RNG selected blue side. Kingzone, of course, will be on red side. We have seen the same bans of both games, where we have Camille, Talia, Rakan coming in from RNG, and on the side of Kingzone, it's Karma, Vladimir, and Kai'Sa.
And people have been talking about Xiaohu a lot, obviously because of this Irelia pick and because of how unique it is and how you can outplay people. But this guy in particular, just as a player over this year in his history in the LPL, he has been so flexible. And that was something, during our research that really impressed us the most about this guy. He plays support champions for Uzi, he plays hard carry champions, he'll play Zoe in the mid lane, and then obviously he'll also play, all-in champions like Irelia as well.
I mean, he is a superstar, and he really also proved that last year for RNG, and he continued this year. But even though now it is more about Uzi, because these 80 carries, when they get ahead, they can just win you every single team fight. I just want to see if Xiaohu and RNG say, this Irelia pick, it is annoying. Can we get rid of it? But those 3 champs they've already banned, Camille and Talia, they gotta stay banned at least. Rakan, probably as well.
Yeah, I mean, ban it, or it's trying to lead up to maybe Xiaohu steals it away. Maybe RNG take the Irelia and try and have it in their hands.
First pick worthy, giving Prey Ezreal potentially. I mean, that would be what the equivalent would be. Obviously, you've mentioned the blue side, red side, no substitutions either. RNG just rushing back to stage. A little bit of stress on their faces, looking at the players out there sitting down. And as we're seeing from the Kingzone reactions, a little bit more smiles, they seem a little more calm. I like to see what sort of mindset they're in because we're going to game 3. The series is 1-1, and we're about to find out exactly what has changed, if anything.
Ooh.
First ban Talia means Camille, not
They might drop the Camille then and say, hey, when you played split pushing game 1 on the side of Kingzone, we could punish that with our hard engaged compositions. We can give that over again, but no, they're just baiting us by swapping it around.
You guys were thrown off just by the order. No big deal here, though. Everything on the other side.
We were thrown off like you weren't excited as well.
I saw Kobe shocked already.
Well, look, Vladimir as well as the Rakan are the 2 that we're missing right now, and there is a pivot. Rakan not banned by RNG to get rid of BDD's Irelia.
So Sire Rakan suddenly has to be a thing we need to talk about. Obviously the Ezreal, if it's open again, has been the first pick for Uzi, but when Rakan is left open, teams tend to first pick him. But then Morgana can actually come in as a counterpick, or Tahm Kench. I think Ezreal is still the choice.
Well, I just want to say the Ornn has been banned, so we'll need to find something else as an insta-lock Ezreal.
That's definitely a very big change because it's a huge part of RNG's team fighting. The wide sweeping ultimate, catching people out and adding so much more presence to the 5-on-5s. One of Lemmy's most played champions, not going to be available, so he'll have to step up somewhere else.
He was 6 wins and 3 losses across the 9 games, including the 2 today. His next plate is Cho'Gath at 3, then Gangplank, Maokai, Shen, Vladimir. So a number of options available.
Yeah, the Vladimir is actually something RNG could grab for themselves once they can pick again, because it is a good flex pick for them. Let me actually looked very good when he played the Vladimir against Fnatic, found some very strong flanks, but it does move away from the tank top lane setup they've been utilizing so far. Early Sion pick as well, also a flex for Kingzone.
Yeah, BDD has played a ton of mid-lane Sion. You can rush a Banner of Command if your opponent is a magic dealer and try and get a lot of pressure there, then use his ultimate to roam around. That was an effective strategy for Kingzone in the LCK. Also, if you look at the bottom lane, again, it was the Varus early pick here for Kingzone. So they are going to try and have that pushing in the bottom side, get some damage onto the turret, slowly wear it down, and start their game there.
It worked extremely well last game. It might work even better now that Ornn is gone, because his ult is just what's so hard to deal with as a low mobility champion like Varus. If it's a Cho'Gath instead, that buys a lot of time for the Varus to just sit there and spam auto attacks and proc the Blight stacks with the AP build. This is the Vladimir we talked about. It is again a flex option for them. It's going to be interesting because it is very much a flex meta where so many champions can go to different roles and we don't 100% know what's going to happen yet.
What would you like to see happen? Knowing that the Cho'Gath is up and available, there was a brief hover. As obviously Let Me second most played champion this tournament, and Kingzone Dragon X will be locking in the Trundle for Peanuts. Of course, there is a flex possibility there, but we're expecting it's going to be Peanuts.
I would love a top lane that can engage. I think Skarner is not necessarily the best main engage because he runs at you and then needs flash to actually surprise you. He's great follow-up engage, and the same thing for Vladimir with flanking. I want to see if that is a possibility. Sion would of course have been a good choice, but that was stolen.
Yeah, that one's taken away. They still have things, you know, like Shen that we have possibly seen at the tournament, but it becomes a bit more difficult to execute once you get to those 5-on-5s. It could, you know, lend some more greenness down to the bottom side though, and Uzi and try and buff them up.
I like the Rakan ban here because that would have been an engaged support that could have worked really well in the RNG composition. Because again, they have follow-up engage right now. They need the main one.
Initiation, step 1 engage. Where will it come from, if at all? Kingzone need to ban out one more champion here in phase 2. We see the Rise showing his face in that ban pool, despite not being one of the most successful champions at the tournament. Xiaohu actually is undefeated on that one. It will be the Braum removed from the table. So Tahm Kench is still up and available. Janna still up and available. Thinking about what other support champions could be in the pool, depending on which direction the teams want to go.
Yeah, if RNG just want a hard win bot lane, then Janna is an okay choice. The problem is Varus' ult is amazing at level 6 against squishy range supports, because then you send down your jungler, you land the ulti onto the squishy range support, and they basically just die instantly. So the Varus pick here could actually cause a lot of issues for RNG and their normal game plan.
And they're able to get their lane compatriot as well. Tahm Kench once again picked up to try and help out Varus towards the later stages of the game. You can just devour him right out of a Skarner ultimate and keep him safe.
And also RNG is saying, okay, we know you have the Varus to kill tanks, you have the Trundle ulti. We don't want to give you a Cho'Gath feast as well, because then there's no way we can win the normal team fights against you. So that's why they also ban it. Let's see if it is going to be Vladimir going top. They still don't know where Sion is going. And so far during the tournament, mid lane Vladimir has been much, much stronger. And if they send it up to top side, they might lack engage on the side of RNG. Let's wait and see.
What other champions are available? We've mentioned the Shen, we've touched on even the Maokai, which is something we've seen if they wanted a tank in that top lane, and it will be the Shen, Kobe. So there's the team composition here from RNG.
And they've got the range matchup into the Varus Tahm Kench lane,
yeah,
so
baby.
they're gonna try and punish that with globals, but Khan isn't done yet.
The classic counter pick to Shen, a GP. When Shen TPs away, GP ulti follow, and then he just outscales you.
Even in lane, you can hit your barrels to penetrate armor, you can get true damage from the passive, you can eat oranges and get out of the taunt. We'll see though. Is there gonna be extra pressure brought?
Well, that's kind of the thing here. If you look at how RNG wants to start fights, it's most likely Xiaohu running in with the Shen ult onto him, and then Skarner coming and flying in to try and grab a target. Shen still is not actually main engaged. He's also great follow-up engaged to a lot of fights. So RNG needs to be very good with their vision and finding flanks to get on to prey in that back line.
I'm wondering if Xiaohu is going to take the Spellbook Vladimir, which has been very popular, or the Predator Vladimir, another option, which allows him to keep that Ignite for later for when he does get in as well, because there's so many sources of mobility for Vladimir nowadays with the changes to Shirelia's Reverie. It's a very low cooldown, and that is a very popular item.
Yeah, we also saw it pick against a roaming mid laner in Aurelion Soul. Now Sion can ult to side lanes as well, so it is definitely a very good option for Xiaohu in this game here. RNG, though, they want to win this bot lane. That's why they draft the Shen. That's why they risk the counter pick top for Khan, because they need Uzi to get ahead.
Oh, there's a sentence I've never heard before. RNG want to win the bot lane. And we'll see whether or not Letme's unkilled Shen will help out. Both of these players, Letme and Khan, have run their respective champions once this tournament, and they have both gone unkilled. 1-0-9 for Letme's Shen. and 7-0-14 for Khan's Gangplank. You can hear Zenith cheering for RNG as we load up onto the Rift. And importantly, one of the questions from Draft is answered. It is Unsealed Spellbook on the side of Xiaohu's Vladimir.
Notice level 1 here. Sweeper on Peanut. We have seen this once when you then invade and you expect the enemy team to put a defensive ward on one of their buffs. You can use the Sweeper to kill that and try and get an early edge on his side. We know Kingzone, very famous for the level 1s, used it last game to kill Uzi.
Kingzone are kind of thinking that it is going to be Uzi and Ming starting in lane, trying to utilize their range matchup here down bottom and push and get the early lead. So maybe it's a delayed invade because if their duo does start down there, they could go check the red.
Well, they're still sitting here waiting. So they're not looking to split the map towards top side. And that obviously is because Khan on the GP is not necessarily looking to just perma-shove to a turret 24/7. There's very much an even matchup between him and Let Me early. Peanut is still sitting there.
Yeah, makes me think they would do it, but it looks like
could also just be for
Prey,
defensive.
Yeah, with Prey moving over as well, he's going to land some extra damage. And since they're going to give over control of the bottom lane anyway, just going to let the Ezreal and Janna push on in.
All right, so no shenanigans to start off game number 3. But a very different style of draft now from what we've seen in game 1 and game 2. A lot more emphasis going to be on RNG's side to set up those fights. Fisher, you talked so much about the later stages where not having that primary engage tool, you're going to be very reliant on getting those Shadow Dash taunts or fighting the flanks from Vladimir. Now, it can work. It's just more difficult to set up.
Yeah, and the reason I highlight it so much is because it's such a big difference from the Ornn games they've had so far, where you have this guaranteed way of always engaging. So we just have to see how RNG plays it. We know from back in the LPL that they love to play 1-3-1 on their side, despite it being Kingzone who's actually doing it in this series. If we look mainly at game 1, so Xiaohu will go to a side lane later, and he will be able to outmatch BDD.
Yeah, he's going to be the one looking for those flanks, looking for the pockets of Fog of War to work with. Down bottom, though, we had Peanut walking through the river. We're going to take a look at Uzi.
Ooh, Gorilla is going to go for the flash forward, gets the lick, looking for the stick. We'll be happy to take Uzi's flash. And Ming's going to get some return damage.
Oh, this is a classic strategy from the LPL against Uzi. Early gank him in the lane, try and set him behind.
And that is a only blue quadrant route from Peanut. He clears out all 3 camps to get his level 3. Then the quick visit bottom is very effective because you get the summoners, and then you can try and reset to your red quadrant, but Karsa's gonna race him.
I'm a little bit sad Peanut got level 3 because normally it is a level 2 gank that Clearlove will pull off and try and kill Uzi, and then the EDG bot lane can win, but fine. He got level 3 this time around, still counts.
And because Karsa starts blue side, went down to red, and then would have to traverse all the way back up, not enough time or health, so he just stops off at the Scuttle Crab to get the free health back, and then returns to clearing.
And let's see what this is going to have, what impact this will have on the matchup. Gentlemen, I have some stats for you in terms of Uzi versus Prey over the last 2 games. Taking a look at their overall KDA, their damage percentage, and then just the phenomenal CS per minute. 11.1 for Uzi, who has been the CS per minute leader in tournament long. And then Prey, of course, not far behind. We've seen that Varus into Ezreal second matchup this time, and a lot more pressure on Prey's shoulders once again.
It's true, but Prey did come out on top last game, got that first bot lane turret, and also had very strong impacts in teamfights, as you can see with the damage percent. Obviously, Peanut is looking for gank number 2.
In addition, I would think that, okay, we'll see if Xiaohu gets out of this one.
Let's take a look. Decimating Smash from BDD. There's actually not a lot of mana for him to work with. Sanguine Pool will buy some time. Ignite is burning. Flash forward! First blood to RNG. Peanut manages to get a chomp down on Xiaohu. And BDD will not be able to chase. Actually gets one zombie smash down. First blood to LPL.
Xiaohu just has ice in his veins, plays it so calmly there, baiting them in. As soon as you see that Predator pop up over your heads for Kingzone, they gotta know that they've been had.
Perfect timing, though. We talk about Xiaohu coming into this game, how he is such a superstar also for RNG, despite us mainly talking about Uzi normally, and then he gets to play Vladimir mid, and he gets the first kill.
Kobe, how did it happen?
take a look here because Peanut waiting in the brush is going to move up with the Trundle. And as I said, it's dangerous to overchase into the side lanes. So they put this ward down. But then as soon as Predator pops up, Peanut starts to back away. He knows BDD is in a very tenuous situation.
And nothing BDD can do on the way out with the zombie. In the end, first blood for RNG. Not in the lane we expected it. Because normally with this Vladimir, you're not getting early kills. And Sign typically never dies in lane.
Yep, definitely an aggressive move. Well punished once again by RNG. We've said that so many times, them punishing the mistakes of Kingzone. And here, it does give them some early game control.
Also controlling the bottom lane here with Ming on his range support. So that is also a change from the last game with Janna being back in the lineup.
And also so important, Ming holding on to his flash from that very, very early gank. We saw in the previous game how flashless targets were picked on and punished. Now that was Let Me and Khan primarily. This time around, both of them on these top lane champions that want to scale. Not the most exciting pre-6, but now Stand United's up for Let Me. We're gonna have that cannon barrage for Khan. They will start impacting the other lanes.
It is very, very true. Kasa is looking for something else. Nope, he just wants to go back to base. That's okay as well. You don't have to perm gank when you're not level 6 on a Skarner. Mingdo also, not only with the laning phase where he's going to be very useful. GP, Trundle, and Sion on the other side. 3 champions where Ming's ulti can be huge. Of course, the GP can land the barrels from range, but typically in late game fights, you want to get in and get an auto 2 off with crits. That is something Ming can prevent. So Kingzone might actually struggle reaching Uzi, and RNG could also struggle reaching Prey on the other side.
Yeah. Meanwhile, during the laning phase here, we have the double teleport bottom once again from Kingzone as Gorilla uses his spellbook to switch over there and get back to lane. Uzi and Ming continually trying to harass them though and keep them low, whittle them down under this turret and keep that pressure.
4 teleports in total on the side of Kingzone. Looking at 2 for now on the side of RNG. Xiaohu can swap to that later. As it stands, small CS advantages for every lane on RNG. Plus 10 for Let Me, plus 10 for Xiaohu, plus 11 for Uzi. And that's giving them this 1,500 gold lead with the addition of First Blood. And Khan's going to be the recipient of a dive.
Predator is ready, and Xiaohu is roaming up. This is going to be a 3v1.
There is so much damage to come down. The Impale will come out. I'm looking for the oranges. Gets eaten, but it is not okay. Xiaohu 2-0.
Yeah, this mid laner here getting the first blood, then moving up to get another kill in the top lane. Khan's CVs aren't cooldown, so he will lose all these minions. Also use these ultis, not available for fight here.
Shen ultimate definitely ready here. They could Stand United. Ming's fishing around. They don't have any more vision left though as Gorilla puts down the control ward.
Wisely backing away. Xiaohu made it to mid lane. Let Me just about to finish the recall, and the mountain's interrupted.
That right there is why for 6 years we've been saying go to the source of the global. Gank the global, because once they kill Khan, they have an extra man advantage. Even though they spent 2 people roaming to the top side, Let Me with his Stand United available could threaten on the bottom side and dissuade them from doing that dragon.
They ganked the global and they ganked for the global as well on the side of RNG, and it was very, very effective here. Shen is doing well. Let Me had to blind pick it and realize there was a high chance GP would show up, but GP's for late game. Early game here, RNG can keep this push. Bot lane, they're winning with the Janna. Top lane, Let Me has been controlling it, and Xiaohu is now 2-0. Kingzone at the moment, they're losing everywhere.
They're down 2,000 gold, Deficio. RNG with another strong opening to the matchup. Let's see what Xiaohu can do on this Vladimir, because as you mentioned, he is the recipient of the kills. He is the champion and the player that needs to find the flanks and could be game-changing as we get to those team fights in the coming 10 to 20 minutes. For now, just go back to laning phase, 10 minutes on the card. Shirelia's Reverie just completed by Xiaohu.
Yeah, and with so many globals in this game, the cooldown tracking is so important for both these teams to try and see if you actually have that window to pull off the play. Because look at the map right now, there are barely any wards, none of them deep, because there are so many possible answers here with global abilities.
So want to see with BDD once he gets the banner completed. Dematerialize is almost gone from Xiaohu's side. I think he could have saved 2 of the stacks. Seeing as Sion loves to rush the banner command, and that's one of the ways you get push in your mid lane and can start moving to the sides. But BDD has not been able to do it so far. Let Me, that ulti is ready, Kobe. Are we gonna see it bot lane?
Definitely a possibility. Right now he's got his hands full with Khan though in the side brush as he takes a shot in the face. Peanut, though, down bottom might be the one to actually draw out that cooldown.
Yeah, that definite possibility becomes an absolute possibility.
I'm
if
glad it's
Peanut
possible.
decides to engage. I didn't quite see whether or not Uzi or Ming spotted him walking into the bush, but looking at the river, Passer's making his way down as well. Ming with a very, very good flash.
He was ready for that Division. You talked about in Champ Select. I know that you have felt the pain of being killed as a support in bottom lane by a Varus ultimate. Ming not taking his chances, flashes out of the way, and is able to escape certain death.
So now, next time Prey's ult is ready, they can try and do it again, but Letme's ult should be there and can come down to protect Ming. So it is hard for Kingzone to snowball that lane, and now it's Karsa starting Drake.
A third game in a row. Karsa gonna slip in here and try and get this first Drake. He's got the Skarner Spire, the extra attack speed working away, and since Xiaohu has control of mid lane on the Vladimir, it's an easy rotation for RNG.
The only positive for Kingzone right now is that Khan is farming. He didn't go for Grasp on the GB like we've seen other people do because he knows this lane matchup is fine for him. So he goes for Klepto, tries to get as much gold income as possible. But right now, he's the only member we're looking at and can say this guy's actually doing fine. Everyone else, they're behind and getting pushed in.
Oh, I'm helping, I'm helping. How many teleports will this be? Zavala comes out from Gorilla, and look, instant reply from Kingzone. It is cancelled, and I got too excited too early. Kingzone able to escape with that Tahm Kench.
So Karsa did not want to ult back Gorilla here, not knowing exactly how many people TP down, but they might set up a tower dive.
All right, Gorilla and Prey, they're sticking around. Khans can still join the fight if he wants to. That's a flash forward from Xiaohu. Gorilla's Grey Health will buy some time, but the transfusion will be enough to take down Prey. And it's Uzi that kills Gorilla.
Oh, and it's the little tiger who starts off the dive. Xiaohu is able to make the play again. Proactive use of this Vladimir. Shirelia's Reverie gets him in place, but Peanut wants to play a cross-map play.
All right, let's take a look. Letme's got flash available to him as well as that dash. Needs to get away, but will sidestep. Dash for now. Roar of the Slayer comes out. BDD has slain Letme.
Letme realized too late that, wait a minute, if we're all bot lane and killing them, they should all go top lane and kill me. And then he ends up running away when BDD and Peanut are already there to attack him. So it is a return kill for Kingzone. They will get a top lane turret as well, but they've lost first turret gold.
It's all give and take. When you make a play on the strong side of the map, have more members there, you gotta expect the counterplay on your weak side. Here's another look at Xiaohu starting it off though. He waits on the other side of the wall so he doesn't give away any position while Gorilla was in there. Runs straight through with the Shirelia's Revelry and doesn't hesitate to flash, knowing that that will put him in range for the slow once his E pops.
Just great performance from Xiaohu's side, but as you can see in the minimap, Letme did not back away in time. He stayed top lane, hoping no one would attack him. Well, this happened as a response, and therefore it is another kill for Kingzone.
Yep, Peanut saving his pillar there for the very end to corner him against the tower, and they finished off that kill in addition to the turret trade. Now, RNG still get the first turret bonus though, because they were the ones to act first.
And that means they maintain their gold lead. In terms of itemization, Rageblade Trinity Force picked up for Khan and Prey respectively. Banner of Command for BDD. So those first tier spikes have come in. This might allow Kingzone a little bit more flexibility.
They're getting everything at the moment. Xiaohu's top lane pushing. They're going to get Rift Held. BDD. Banner is now completed. There's one dematerializer stack for the Vladimir, and that is important to at least kill the first one, because after that it's going to take quite some time for Xiaohu to auto-attack it down.
Yep, Karsa going to be able to get something a little bit more powerful than a banner minion, though, as the Rift Herald is taken up and does not like it from the sound of that scream.
Oh, it's important to highlight how Uzi is using every single ulti to kill the caster minion whenever Kingzone are trying to push in these side lanes. It's a very important use of that ulti.
Exactly. When a couple seconds mean the difference between taking down a turret or losing tempo.